Good morning and welcome to FutureScape Virtual. And this discussion is all about the value of being a member of an association in the landscaping sector. I'm joined today by Phil Tremayne, the General Manager of the Association of Professional Landscapers, and I have to say, one of the busiest, or certainly was before COVID, one of the busiest men in the industry, travelling up and down the country constantly. So Phil, before we get on, good morning, hope you're well.
Yeah, good morning, Jim. Thank you for having me.
No problem. And let's have a little introduction for the people that don't know you, a little bit of history, how you got into the job that you're currently doing, your previous roles in horticulture.
All right. Well, actually, I'm probably one of those great people that can show the full diversity of this industry, because I qualified as a grower all the way back in the mid-80s. I went to Pershore College and did that. And it was a highly sought after course. Pershore was probably one of the key horticultural colleges in the country at that time, certainly for nursery stock production. And after completing that, I went back down to my home in Cornwall and managed a nursery down there called Burncoose and South Downs Nurseries, which was predominantly a mail order nursery and had some fame. It won countless gold medals at Chelsea and things like that. But the one thing that inspired me to want to continue working down there was its broad range of plant materials, and I had a great plant knowledge back in those days. I've forgotten most of it now, but I did have a good knowledge back in those days. But they grew very small batches of things, lots of different stuff, but small batches. And for those who have heard me talk before, they'll know that my ambition was to be a farmer, and my grandparents were farmers, and I couldn't do the farming, so I wanted to farm nursery stock instead. So I moved all the way to Newcastle upon Tyne and managed a big nursery stock production nursery up there. But that enabled me then to, that had a garden centre attached, it had a landscapes department attached, and eventually, over a course of time of the growing, commercially and growing for the retail side, I ended up getting more involved with the garden centre side and eventually the landscaping side until I ended up managing the whole thing. I was there for 15 and a half years. I did online sales, I did marketing all through that company. And then I moved all the way back down south to run a small nursery that I set up myself for a garden centre, growing bespoke stuff for them. Unfortunately, and this is where the story turns quite sad, and you can get your violins out now, that the owner didn't want that garden centre anymore and sold it to one of the bigger chains, and they didn't want a nursery. So consequently, I found myself out of a job, and I was doing some part-time work with a company called APAC, and I was just selling pots and baskets and things like that, traveling around the country with my little basket of goods for all the nurseries. And I saw an advert for the HTA, and I thought, well, that sounds a bit interesting. So I applied, I got it, and I was a field manager for the HTA, going around to the garden centres, nurseries. But I saw that the landscape side of it was quite large, there were quite a few in the APL, but they weren't getting a great deal of attention from anyone at the HTA at that time, because there wasn't anyone really focusing on that side. So I put the suggestion through to the HTA, could I do it? Because I had a link with the landscape industry, and they thankfully said yes, and the rest is history, as they say.
So just before we move on, and so pre-you, it was all part of the same HTA proposition. So a salesperson looking after a certain area would also look after landscaping, and then you brought it all together and are now managing the whole gambit really of every landscape up and down the country.
Yeah, that's basically it. It did fall under the remit of what they called field officers, and but the field officers, as I was one of them, would go in and look at garden centres, go into nurseries, and go and visit landscapers when they could. But those of you who know the HTA, I mean, it has a lot of garden centres, and they need a lot of attention as well. And so your time was really spent so much with them that I felt the landscapers were not getting the attention that they needed. And landscaping was buoyant, it was on the increase, and it needed that support. So yeah, I took over running the APL.
Okay, so maybe a bit of a stupid question, otherwise you wouldn't be doing the job that you're doing. So do you believe that there is a value to all size companies being part of an association?
Yes, I do. I mean, if I am completely honest, and those who know me will know that I'm always honest, before I got involved with an association, I never saw the value of associations. And I think that that's partially because the associations don't market themselves or didn't market themselves effectively. Things have got a lot better now, and the associations are very much in the news, and people know what they do and what they're there for. And it's understanding what they're there for is the most important thing. And if you get engaged with an association, you will see the value, and you won't want to leave that association because they are there to support you.
And and is there like a prime time when a company is during its transition, it's growing, it's establishing, when they should join? Is it would you recommend that they got a year's trading or a year's understanding first, or where would you think, or size? You know,
I think yeah, sorry. I think that all the associations within the landscaping industry and designer as well with the SGD, I think that they all have a minimum trading time that you have to been trading before you can join, and that's usually 2 years, and that's largely based around you receiving your first set of full accounts, which usually takes about 18 months anyway. So by the time you get them, then you apply, you're almost looking at 2 years. But that's important then for you to know that your business is viable, and you know, if an association is going to promote your business, then they need to know that your business is viable as well. So but is there a key time to join? I think that businesses join associations for many different reasons. So I mean, I think a key time for a business to join as a young business is after your 2 years, get engaged and make sure that you're doing everything correctly. You've got your health and safety all correct, you're legislatively correct, and you get that introduction to those contractors, landscape companies, whatever, that have been doing the job for quite a while. And you know, that networking is so important that an association can provide you, and all the support when you're a young business. But then if you're an established business, then you join for different reasons. You tend to join, maybe it's because you want to start entering awards, and you want to put you've got your business up and running. You then just want to start to put your stamp on the industry and let yourself be known.
Yeah, I guess when this goes out, hopefully there'll be lots of smaller landscapers just starting out, or maybe 6 months or a year into their thing. Don't you think there's a gap there then, where an association could really help them get themselves on the right footing earlier on in their career, rather than waiting for maybe the 2 years? I understand in terms of, you know, you wouldn't like to recommend a company that's less than 2 years because there's no trading, etc. there. But do you not think, from a company's point of view, those first 2 years or first 18 months are quite key to how they establish their company and understand what's needed in the future?
Yeah, I mean, that's why for the last 3 years, I created a category within the APL called pre-accredited membership, so that you can join from day one. And the whole purpose of that is that I go in and give that business a full business assessment. We look at where they are, where they want to be, and then provide them with all the information that they need to get there, so that when it comes to the 2 years, they can actually then just almost walk into membership, because they're already at a stage where they're there. They get support from the committee, and we have like this buddying system within the APL where you can buddy up with a committee member, and he acts as almost a bit like a mentor for you. Yeah, so yeah, we did identify that was important, but they don't get the full APL logo, and they don't get the trust mark, and you know, that's the way that we did it. They are listed as a pre-accredited member.
And is that a paid for membership, or is that?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So there's a fee that allows them to get everything that needs to, but not the same fee as when they become a member, or?
No, it's a flat fee, and it's slightly reduced because they don't get all the benefits that a full accredited member would, but they do get a lot of they get 3 visits from me. That's worth a fortune.
and do you see that there is the need for that then, in terms of when you're speaking to these companies? Do you really think you add value to them to get to that sort of 2-year area?
Well, I'd like to think so. And again, I'll be honest, it's not our most popular membership, and maybe it's because we don't promote it widely enough. But you know, I think some people look at the fee and they think, well, if I just wait a year and a half, I'll get everything I want. But we can get them there so much quicker, and we can advise them along the way. So yeah, it's a membership that we won't stop, and it just sits there, and when people join it, they join. And yeah, but maybe we should promote it more.
And how many of them then transition into full members?
All of them.
Right. Okay.
All of them do, yeah. Because I mean, if you've made that commitment at that early stage, and you've had all that support, then there's no reason why you wouldn't. You know, they get all the invites to the cluster meetings and things like that, so they're fully engaged by the time they come through.
Yeah. So if you were pitching me to join the membership, so I'm 2 years on, I got my first trading. How do I justify, or how do you justify to me the price that I've got to pay to be members? What are the main significant things that I would gain?
Well, again, I knew you would ask this, and this is a really difficult question, but it really depends. A lot of why people join, or when you're talking to people about joining, it's what they want from membership. It's what they expect from membership that you can reply with an answer to. So I'll give you an example. You know, if someone comes to me and says, I wouldn't mind joining the APL, can you provide me with endless leads to my business? Then, you know, again, we would be honest and say that associations aren't really lead generators. We do have lead generating facilities in a website, etc., but we're not a checker trade. But what we can provide you with is membership support in the fact that you've got all these documents that you can download, templates. You've got all your free helplines. We've got preferred partners that can give you discounts on certain products like insurances and telecoms and merchant services and things like that. So, I mean, it all, like I say, it all depends on what you want. I mean, the one big thing that I always say to people that are interested in joining our association is the fact about the community aspect of it, is that if you come along to the APL, then you are joining, as it says there, the fastest growing community in the industry, sort of. I'm one of them.
I should ask you how you judge that, but let's
one of the fastest. But it's you know, it's that is a valuable resource in itself. I mean, that sort of thing is almost priceless. But when you get contact to the sort of member landscapers that we've got within our membership that are all willing to share their time and experience with the young members that are coming through, that's an excellent resource. We also have, obviously, with the APL, you get three memberships for the price of one. So you got the APL and all the usual things, the templates, the documents, the things we've talked about already. But then you got the HTA, Horticultural Trades Association, and all the lobbying work that they do on behalf of the industry. And now more than ever with COVID and Brexit and plant passports and plant health, for having an organization like that behind you and behind the APL, giving us all the information we need to make sure that members are up to speed with everything that needs to be done, that's worth its weight in gold. And then the part that we're sitting on the ornamental round table group and the all-party political group for horticulture and all those other sort of things is very important. And then, of course, we have Trustmark, and Trustmark is the government endorsed scheme that we're the operating partner for. So that's the other bit. That's the sort of like last bit in the jigsaw, really, that then gives them that credibility in their endorsement when they're going out to see the public. So there's quite a lot that you can get from being a member. And it's the same with, I won't be unbiased, it's the same with other associations. They have different things, but yeah, they've all got good things that you can get from them. But ask.
The thing that you mentioned there, the helplines, because a lot of landscapers are very skilled at their job, but maybe the back office side of the business is where, you know, it might be slightly new to them when they're starting up their own business and running there. What sort of helplines and support do you have for them?
Well, the most major one that any young company needs, and then a company that's in growth is the human resource helpline and the legal helpline. So at some stage, if they're going through a period of growth and they're looking to employ staff, they're going to need help with human resource. You know, getting advice on what their contract should look like, and you know, then albeit that if they, you know, how they go about employing. But then the pension sides of things and all those sort of areas that that they need to concentrate on. And then, you know, going forward, it might be that they need to lay people off, or they might need to make someone, they might need to fire someone. So that sort of helpline is very key to our members, and is used quite frequently. And then the legal one, unfortunately, you know, all landscapers at some stage will come across a client that's going to cause them a few issues, and they're going to need to take legal advice. And what the legal helplines do, they don't replace solicitors or that sort of thing. And ultimately, if it's a big enough case, you might need to get your own solicitor, but they will give you our helpline. And I think it's the same as other associations. We'll give you about 35 minutes talk through what your issue is, particularly if you need to write a letter. They'll help you write that letter and make sure you word it correctly so that you don't get yourself into trouble. Those are the two helplines that are used the most. One of the ones that's used quite frequently, and a lot of the members forget it's there, is actually our horticultural helpline, which is done through Dove Associates. And that one, you could actually be out in a garden, and you know, you notice that something's not looking right, or there's a shrub dying or whatever, and you can actually call them, send them some pictures, and they'll tell you what's wrong with them. Now, in this day of Xylella, you know, that's quite important. It's quite a good resource for our members to be able to have that confidence, because we do know that whilst many landscapers are horticulturally qualified and horticulturally competent, there are a lot that have only just worked out which way round to put the plant in.
So when you say these helplines, are they easy accessible, or are these where you stand in a queue and you wait 24? Do you know what I mean? Is it there at the end of the phone? And
it's there at the end of the phone, yeah.
Real value.
Yeah, they're very quick, and all you need is your membership number. You just phone up, and you say you're a member of whatever association. Give them your number, and then you talk to someone. And we've chosen companies as well that don't have huge call center banks. They're smaller companies, so if you're particularly with the legal one, that's pretty important, that you're actually able to then, maybe if you need to call again, you get to talk to the same person who's already knows what your case is about. It just saves a lot of time.
Okay. Well, and what's the biggest objection for people not joining? Because you sort of question, well, why wouldn't you? What is the main reason people wouldn't join an association?
Well, I alluded to it earlier. I mean, when I'm stood at FutureScapes and people come up to the stand, and you know, you talk to them about joining, one of the first things they ever come out with is, well, how many leads are you going to bring me? I already have enough work. And it seems, and I suppose it's sort of the easy calculation to make, isn't it? Yeah, I join you, you give me £10,000 worth of work a year, and I've paid for my membership. But trade associations, as I said earlier, they're not lead generators. They're lead generators with a very small L. That isn't their purpose. So but those are usually the main objections to not joining. When you talk to people, they listen to everything, they go, yeah, I get it, but I'm busy enough as it is, and off they go, and that's fine. You know.
And you wouldn't try and justify in terms of, well, you get this amount of discount on this product, this on this insurance, to justify the cost of membership. It's more about the community, the support we give you, the help we give you, professionalism that we bring to your business.
Yeah, I think that's the only quantifiable thing that you can do, because at that initial conversation, I don't know how much they're paying for their insurance. I don't know what they need to insure. I know that they possibly could get a good deal through ours, and it may pay for their insurance. And I have had members that have phoned me and they've been through our insurance services and they've saved a fortune when they've gone there. But there are others that have gone there and it hasn't made a great deal of difference, because it all varies, doesn't it, these things. But I'd rather talk about the support and all those elements that we can bring a landscaper or a designer or a professional gardener, as we have now in our as one of our memberships. I'd rather talk about the benefits that we can bring to them through the you know, the templates and the documents and all that sort of support we can give there, and the community side of things.
And how do you base your membership charging? Is it on turnover? Is it a flat fee? Is it number of employees? How do you base your charge?
Yeah, ours, as many other associations, is banded on turnover. So it's you know, it's band 1 is 0 to 100, 2 is 100 to 250, then it's 250 to 5 to 1 million, and so it goes up.
Yeah. And have you got sort of case studies where, from each of those categories, where they say that joining the association really helped them as a business?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of members out there that I could say that about. I mean, one that springs to mind, you know, initially when you ask that, is probably Ross Conquest. I mean, Conquest came to us as a smallish landscape company, just starting out, and well, he'd been going obviously 2 or 3 years. He got engaged with us with World Skills, and he went through World Skills with us. That then introduced him, and we brought him along to the like the Hampton Court with us. We introduced him to people. He then found his way into helping a garden up at Chelsea, and then eventually built his own gardens at Chelsea. He's been on our business development program, and then that enabled him to put certain aspects into his business that now his business has moved on. He's now got a partner as a result of the business development program. And, you know, there's all these sort of things that his business has grown massively over the last 2 or 3 years that he's been in membership with the APL. And a lot of that is, I'm sure if you asked him, a lot of that is down to the involvement of the APL.
What about so the business development partnership program? What's that then, and who's able to come out? Is it membership only? Is it?
No, it's open to all. I normally, when we promote it, I promote it on our general Facebook group where non-members can be as well. It's a course that was actually created and mentored in a way by Ken White of Frost Landscapes. He came up with what he wanted the course to involve, and was very instrumental in the early days of it getting up and running. It's run with a company called Cedar Associates, who are a business management sort of training organization. It's very bespoke. It's when we were running it initially, you actually came to Horticultural House, and it was the actual peer-to-peer and being together was a huge value in the course. But we've run one online as well this year during lockdown, which was well attended, and it was a fraction of the price because you didn't have to go and actually be there. And that seemed to work well. We learned a lot from it, but we'll be running it again. And the next one we're looking to run is, again, with Ken's involvement, is a course called Finance for Non-Finance Directors, which is one that is really all about helping people understand their accounts. And that's being run by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales. So that's a really, really good course. I'm hoping to run that early in the new year.
And also, I guess, post-COVID, you were known for your travelling up and down for your cluster meetings. Again, open to everyone, the idea and the concept behind it and how it supports membership. Yeah,
I mean, I always feel slightly guilty because we stole the cluster name from the SGD, but it is just an adjective, isn't it? There's no, yeah, the cluster meetings have been a huge benefit to members and to myself in understanding what members need and to just building that whole community. And yeah, we played around with them. We've had them where they're just sort of like get-togethers, more social get-togethers over a beer and or a glass of wine or whatever your fancy is and something to eat. But then we also put in some business development stuff as well, and actually had little courses run that we could do then surveys through the whole country of all the cluster meetings. So we've done pricing exercises with all the groups. We've done employment rates and you know, wages rates and things through all the groups, and I collate all that information and just feed it back out to the groups that only people that attend can get the information back. So that's been really useful, and it really helps me then understand. And since lockdown, I moved them all online, and I'm now a Zoomer. I'm on, we have one every single Monday night. Every third Monday in the month we have mystery hour, where we don't have a topic, and people just come on, and the idea is that you ask a question and someone in the group should be able to answer it, and it just goes on like that for an hour and a half. They're usually entertaining. I have Zooms now, national designer meetings for Zoom. We've got one this Thursday, next Thursday coming, where, you know, it's just a designer-led topic. So they're going really well. Yeah, really enjoy them.
And what type of interaction do you get from your membership? How many of your members just paid a fee and you don't see them again until next year, and how many are actually actively involved in the cluster meetings, in all the events that you do? How many actually physically get involved?
Yeah, there's various levels of involvement. I would confidently say 50-50 of members, but then there are some members, there's like a 20-25% that are hardcore. They're fully engaged. They come to everything. They want to be involved in everything. And they're really, that type of member is a joy. You know, I always say to people, the more you call me, the happier I am, because it means you're engaged and you're actually getting something. Another 25% sort of come now and again when they can, or make the odd call, make the odd email. And then you got 50% that really just flitter around the edges, and you only hear from them if they really want something, or sometimes you only hear from them if they want to moan about something. They're the worst ones, but they're entitled, I guess.
And how stringent are the reviews on when you go and accredit the landscaper? How much work and effort do they need to put in beforehand? You know, how much time and effort is spent on that kind of stuff?
Well, there's not beforehand. I mean, really, what we've gone over to now is that we get the member to send us everything via email, all the paperwork and stuff via email, and we strictly now go to sites. So they'll send me their insurances and things like that. That's got to be done every year, and that's as part of that's Trustmark that need to see those, and we get all those through. And then they send through their sort of like site file that they on the site that I'm going to via email, and I have a look at that, and then I print that off and take it with me. This is post-COVID now, obviously, so that we don't have that cross-contamination. But when we get to site, what we expect to see is a full site file containing all their risk assessments, construction phase plans, and we'd like to see a quotation of the job. We want to see that they've got plans for access and egress and where their services have been located and all those sort of health and safety things. And then it's really just after that, it's a good walk around the site and see what work they're doing and how, you know, how they're going about their work.
I'm conscious of time. A few more questions before we open up to the audience. But one of the things that I always wonder, and I think it's quite important, is what role do you think the associations need to play in promoting professionalism of landscaping to the wider consumer, and, you know, all about the pricing and how you should employ professional landscapers? Where do you see the role of your association for that?
Well, I see the role for the APL, that is one of our biggest roles. more and more now we hear about some of the programs that are on the TV that are giving a popular misconception of the value of professional landscaping. So that's why it was supposed to be this year, but COVID put a stop to that. And so next year, hopefully, fingers crossed, is where we're launching our What Lies Beneath garden up at Gardeners World Live. This is a garden that is 21 meters long by 8 meters wide. It's basically a cross section of what a domestic garden would have in it, nearly everything. So, you know, plants, turf, paving, the lot, all cut down in half, so you can see exactly what goes underneath the ground. And at the end of, when they walk through it, at the end, they will be receiving a booklet with all the things explained of how that garden was built up, what the rough costs of that would be, so that they get a full understanding. Once that's done, that show is done, then that will be then launched onto our website, and there'll be loads of social media about it, and it will be just pushed out far and wide to them for the general public to see. It's going to be all based around our guidance that we've had, because we became members of British Standards Institute this year as the APL, and they've been working with us on our paving and decking and guidelines that we've been producing. So yeah, they're all going to be launched, and then this garden's going to hopefully show that to the public.
And again, that is going to be on a proper footing, a proper pricing structure,
yep,
rather than, yeah, and including the costs and design, the
yep,
labour costs, the product costs.
Yeah, they're as close as we can be without dictating what price something should be, because obviously you've got regional differences, haven't you? So we can go in and give a core example, and it might be, we haven't made a final decision yet, but it might be that we say we might take some average pricings around the Midlands and say this garden in the Midlands would cost X, Y, or Z, and you may have to look at a percentage up or a percentage down or whatever. You know, that when you start talking actual prices, you've got to be very careful not to disadvantage other people in other regions. So it will be something that's fair.
Okay. And geographically, then, for somebody that's not a member of an association in Newcastle or in Southend, there's no difference. You know, the support that your association would offer them is exactly the same. Whatever they get is exactly the same.
Yeah, there's no, I mean, if you're a member of the APL, you're a member of the APL. It doesn't matter where you are. I still come and see you. So, I mean, it's, again, that's worth its weight in gold, Jim, as we said earlier. It's, yeah, it's...
no wonder BP shares have gone down, Phil, if you're not being able to travel up and down the country.
Yeah, true enough. Yeah. I don't know, it's a difficult one, that, isn't it? Because environmentally, is it right thing to do? But I have Natalie back in the office, and she sorts out my visit plan, so it's done very efficient. So
yeah, fantastic. Okay, I'm going to just ask one more question before we go to the audience then. So if you had a landscaper sitting in front of you, owning an iron, whether you should be a member, what's the 3 or 4 key things you'd say to him? This is why you should.
Well, I think that if he was sat in front of me now, I'd say you need to become a member of the association, because over these last few months, the legislation based around construction and landscaping has been up and down, and it's only going to get worse. So you've got the support of an association to guide you through that process. There's Brexit coming up. You're going to need guidance there. There's also biosecurity and plant passporting, and I'm sure you're going to need guidance there. We can help you out through all those things. We will give you some badges. We will put you on our website. You will be on Trustmark's website, so you're going to get exposure. I'm going to introduce you to some of the best landscapers in the country, and you're going to become part of one of the fastest growing communities in the landscape industry.
Excellent, thank you. So let's take questions from the audience.